Number 8 is design question, advanced question, and it's one of that reveals whether you are actually run a platform or just use one. How do you design a multi-tenant Kubernetes cluster for 20 engineering teams? What isolation mechanism would you use? What is the expected answer? Frame it first with the two multi-tenancy model. Soft multi-tenancy, namespaces plus RBAC for trusted teams sharing a cluster. Hard multi-tenancy, separate clusters or VMs for untrusted tenants. For 20 internal engineering teams, the answer is soft multi-tenancy with defense in depth. One cluster, many layers of isolation. Naming the model choice upfront is what a senior does. Then lay out the layers, namespace, one per team or environment, RBAC, full access to your own namespace, read only access to others, resource quota per namespace cap on CPU, memory, PVCs, load balance. Limit range, default request and limit so nobody sneaks in the best effort pod that starves the node. Network policy, default deny everything, then allow only required traffic, and node isolation, dedicated node pools per year, enforced with 10. Above that, governance, OPA gatekeeper or Kiverno for policy as code, require labels, disallow privileged containers, enforce and image registry, allow list, cluster segmentation, separate control planes from prod versus non-prod, which shrinks your blast, and an internal developers platform, backstage or port for self-service namespace provisioning, RBAC, and quota management. So the platform team owns the IDP, and the teams never need cluster admin. What earns the checkmark knowing resource quota and limit range together? Most people name one. The pair is the tell. Mentioning network policy for east-west isolation, knowing OPA or QRNO for policy as code, understanding prod versus non-prod segmentation, and rising IDP self-service for what are the common mistakes that fails the question outright. Just use namespace with no quotas or policies. You get noisy neighbor chaos. Give the team lead cluster admin for convenience. That's a massive security and no network policies, meaning every service can talk to every other service, no isolation. Multi-tenancy is not namespace, it's isolation, governance, self-service layer. The expectation by hiring manager, candidate should know both resource quota, limit range, and how they work with. Mentioning network policies, east west isolation, platform engineering example with the Finvista, built a scalable platform for 200 plus engineers across 18 teams on EKS. The challenge 18 product teams, 200 engineers. Shared EKS cluster needs strong isolation. Source reliable and self service platform. Our platform solution can be developers 200 plus engineers. Backstage self-service namespace provisioning. Backstage is open source framework by Spotify, where self-service provisioning can be achieved in less than 4 minutes. EKS cluster, shared multi-tenant cluster. Team namespaces, 18 teams, each one have the separate namespace and observability using the observability tools like Grafana, Prometheus. OPA for gatekeeping or policy as code, enforce the policy, validate and prevent, admit, reject request, continuous. Define Backstage can get the defined policies from the OPA. Uh, Same for the clusters as well as namespace. How we ensured isolation and governance. So you can define the resource quotas per team in prod, 20 CPUs, cores, and 80 gigs of memory. Limit range default for pods, CPUs, and memories. OPA gatekeeper policies. Resource limits mandatory on every pod. Images from internal registry only, like ECR, no containers running as root. Labels required, teams, environment, app on all the work. And network policies, default deny, allow only what is required. Key outcomes, 200 plus engineers empowered, zero cluster admin escalation in 18 months, new namespace in under 4 minutes, consistent security governance and cost control, high developer productivity. Platform impact can be like. So see, you have to design like this. What I design usually, and present this in your interview. Follow-up questions, 5 follow-up questions. It's short answers and the key takeaway.